A car crash. That single, brutal event had shattered my world. My older sister, Viridia, the vibrant, laughing heart of my life, was killed instantly. Her husband, Stellan Crestwell, heir to a billion-dollar fortune, was left a ghost in a machine, a body kept alive by tubes and wires, his mind lost to a persistent vegetative state. The Crestwells, the undisputed royalty of our city, Asphodel, needed to secure their dynasty. They needed a new wife for their comatose son, a vessel to produce an heir. The first woman they found, a hopeful socialite, slit her wrists on their wedding night. She was found wearing my dead sister's silk nightgown. Undeterred by the tragedy, or perhaps driven by a chilling desperation, the family found 4 more women for him over the next 5 years. Without a single exception, every one of them took her own life on her wedding night, and each, in a macabre tribute, was discovered wearing an article of my sister's clothing. Soon, the whispers turned into a citywide legend. Viridia's vengeful ghost, they said, haunted the Crestwell estate, a spectral guardian determined to prevent her husband from ever finding love, or life, again. After the 5th death, the offers of wealth, no matter how extravagant, could no longer entice another woman to step into that cursed marriage bed. But Stellan's health was failing. The doctors gave him a few years, at most. And so, the Crestwells, with their boundless resources and chilling resolve, turned their predatory gaze to me. A blank check, an obscene invitation to name any price, was laid before my father. That very night, he drugged me, and I was delivered, like a sacrificial offering, to Stellan Crestwell's bed. Rhea, darling, you and your sister were always so close. She would never, ever harm you. My father's voice was a low, urgent murmur, his hand tightening on the Crestwell's check as if it were a holy relic. His eyes, usually warm, now gleamed with a raw, insatiable greed. It's only fitting that you become his new wife. It's an honor. An honor? The word was a slap. My own grief for Viridia was still a raw, open wound, and he spoke of honor. I had no intention of becoming a pawn in his financial games. My sister and Stellan had shared a love so profound it felt like a living thing. To intrude on that, even now, felt like a desecration, and I refused to spend the rest of my days as a glorified nursemaid, a living widow chained to a man suspended between life and death. Besides, I had my own life, my own love. Just yesterday, under a sky streaked with sunset, I had accepted Jaron Kendrick's proposal, a simple, perfect diamond slipping onto my finger, promising a future that was ours. I pushed away the cloying hope in my father's expression, my voice steely with resolve. Dad, have you completely forgotten? I'm engaged to Jaron. You accepted the bride price from his family. You gave your word. You can't just take it back. My father let out a derisive snort, waving his hand as if swatting away a fly. The Kendricks are new money, a flash in the pan. They aren't fit to polish the Crestwell shoes. So what if the engagement is off? I'll return their piddling some tomorrow. If they dare to object, I'll write them a check for double. That should shut them up. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was my life, my future, being bartered away like a commodity. Dad, please, I begged, my voice cracking. Jaron and I love each other. Don't do this to us, please. And Stellan is in a coma. Marrying him, it's a death sentence for my own life. The facade of paternal concern shattered. He slammed his fist on the polished mahogany table, his face twisting into a mask of fury. How did I raise such a sentimental fool? He roared, his voice echoing in the cavernous room. Does love pay the mortgage? Can you eat it for dinner? Do you have any idea how much I've invested in you? The finest clothes, the most exclusive schools, a life of privilege. It's time for a return on that investment. He took a deep breath, visibly reining in his temper, his tone shifting to one of predatory persuasion. And what's so terrible about Stellan Crestwell? I've heard the Crestwells have found a way, a method, to ensure he can still perform his marital duties. Once you are pregnant with his child, a Crestwell heir, your position as the young mistress of the family is untouchable. He's a vegetable, Rhea. The doctors say he hasn't got long. When he's gone, the entire Crestwell fortune, the billions, the empire, it will all belong to you, and to your son. After that chilling pronouncement, he took my phone, severing my last link to the outside world, to Jaron. His mind was made up. The deal was done, so I played my part. I let my shoulders slump in defeat, allowing a single, calculated tear to trace a path down my cheek, feigning a broken-hearted compliance. Under the guise of packing a few belongings, I retreated to my room, my mind racing, plotting my escape. A short time later, I heard the crunch of his car's tires on the gravel driveway as he left. This was my moment. I slipped out onto the balcony, the cool night air a shock against my skin. My hands found purchase on the thick, gnarled branches of the ancient oak tree that grew beside my window. I was almost there, my feet just inches from the soft grass of the lawn. Freedom was a breath away. But the moment my toes touched the earth, a large, gloved hand clamped over my mouth and nose, pressing a cloth soaked in a sickly sweet chemical against my face. The world dissolved into a dizzying, suffocating blackness. I awoke to the scent of decay. It was a nauseating perfume of old sandalwood and something else, something metallic and rotten, like flowers left to die in a vase of stagnant water. I was lying on a vast, canopied bed, the silk sheets cold against my skin. Dim, suffocating light filtered through heavy velvet curtains, revealing a room trapped in time. My body felt disconnected, heavy, and weak, as I struggled to push myself up. That's when an unnaturally cold hand brushed against my arm. A violent shiver, sharp as a shard of ice, shot through me. I snapped my head to the side, my heart instantly seizing in my chest. I was not alone. Someone else was lying in the bed with me, my eyes, slowly adjusting to the gloom, focused on the still, silent figure. It was my brother-in-law, Stellan Crestwell. But this was not the man from the photographs, the handsome, smiling heir. This was a grotesque effigy. His face was bloated and discolored, his lips a bruised, purplish blue. His skin, stretched taut over his features, was as pale and waxy as a funeral candle. His chest did not rise. It did not fall. He was a perfect, horrifying statue of death. With a trembling hand, I reached out, my fingers hovering over his nostrils, desperate to feel the faintest whisper of breath. Nothing. I pressed my fingertips to the side of his neck, searching for the thrum of a pulse. Nothing. There was absolutely no sign of life. A scream, raw and primal, ripped from my throat as I scrambled, tumbling from the bed and landing in a heap on the floor. My cry was answered by the heavy groan of the door swinging open. A switch was flipped, and the room was instantly flooded with a harsh, unforgiving light. Only then did the full horror of my situation become clear. I was in my sister and Stellan's bridal suite, a place I had only seen in wedding photos. The room was a perfect, dust-covered shrine to their wedding day, 5 years ago, and I was wearing a wedding dress, a beautiful, ivory gown, now faintly yellowed with age. It was the same dress my sister had worn. Every detail of the scene was a carefully orchestrated nightmare, designed to unnerve and terrify. And it was working. The figures silhouetted in the doorway were Stellan's parents, the city's reigning patriarch, Emmett Crestwell, and his impeccably poised wife, Genevieve. Emmett's gaze swept over me, his expression hardening with disdain at my crumpled form on the floor. As the young mistress of the Crestwell family, screaming and carrying on in such a hysterical fashion, "Have you no sense of decorum?" His voice boomed, dripping with aristocratic contempt. "Is this the kind of behavior the Caldwells consider acceptable?" His condescension was a spark to my terror-fueled anger. I pushed myself to my feet, glaring back at him, my voice shaking but sharp with defiance. I wasn't given a marriage license. I wasn't given a wedding. I was drugged and kidnapped. Is this the kind of behavior the Crestwells consider acceptable? My retort struck a nerve. Emmett's face darkened, and he raised his heavy, silver-topped cane, slamming it against the floorboards as he pointed it at me, his mouth opening to unleash a torrent of rage. But Genevieve, ever the diplomat, moved a fluid grace. She placed a delicate hand on her husband's arm, giving him a subtle, calming look. Then, she turned her serene, ageless face to me, her voice a soothing balm. "Rhea, my dear, I understand this is all very sudden and distressing for you. It's a difficult situation for any young woman to accept. But please, don't worry," she continued, gliding closer. "Feelings can be cultivated. Affection can grow in time. As for the legalities, the ceremony, those are mere formalities, easily arranged. The most critical matter at hand is for you to provide Stellan with a child, an heir to secure the Crestwell legacy." She smiled, a conspiratorial glint in her eyes. "Your father-in-law, in his generosity, has already promised to transfer 20% of his company shares to the woman who gives this family an heir. With that kind of fortune, and a son destined to inherit billions, do you truly care for empty titles like wife?" I had hoped to use the lack of a per wedding as a bargaining chip, a way to buy myself some time, but it was clear they were far beyond caring about appearances. Still, I had to try. "But Stellan, in his condition, how could I possibly conceive his child?" I asked, gesturing towards the unnervingly still figure on the bed. A strange, deeply unsettling smile touched Genevieve's lips. "Oh, don't you worry about that, Rhea. We've had everything arranged by a very gifted master. He has foreseen that tonight is the most auspicious night for your union. Stellan will respond soon enough. Your only task is to cooperate." She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial, chilling whisper. "But you must remember one thing, my dear. Do not make a sound. You wouldn't want to disturb your sister's ghost, now, would you?" Before I could process the sinister implication of her words, she and Emmett swept out of the room. The heavy oak door thudded shut, and the decisive, final click of the lock echo. In the silent room, I was a prisoner,